free, much more independent, much more vibrant, and most of the times tolerant societies. Let us reflect our colleagues who died, who were abducted, who have been subject to a number of assaults during past several decades. And it's sad that in most of these cases have never been adequately investigated. And the reason is that if you look back in these last 5-6 years, none of them have been investigated, and that partly is a pointer to the prevailing impunity in our country. And you see the situation, for instance, our colleague Pradeep Abeynayake, who is missing. And it's 2 years since he disappeared, but we don't know where he is. And the government rather is more concerned about how his wife went to Geneva to campaign for his cause, for his release, to find out his whereabouts. So anyway, back to my topic, which is the role of media in transforming societies. When I saw this topic first, what it reminds me was one of the earliest theses by Dr. Amrita Sen, one leading Indian-American economist and philosopher. And he argued on the interrelationship between democracy and the ability of democracies to avert or to deal with famines. He argued that there has been no famine in any democracy in the 20th century. Why? It's not that when there is democracy that plants grow faster or whatever. It's because when there is a democracy, government has to run for elections, government has to win for elections. So to that, government has to deliver goods to their people. So how the people keep government into account, and how they do that is through media. And it's we, the journalists, who provide information, and it's our role. And he argued in Chinese case, in the great Chinese famine in 1957, which was accompanied with the Great Leap Forward. There were, no one knows how many died until it was revealed after Mao Zedong's death. So if that happened in India, which is a democracy, definitely newspapers would have gone to the town with that as the headline, so which would have prompted the government to act. So that's basically the role of media. Media not only informs people, not only it gives a voice to the downtrodden, but it also functions as a check and balance mechanism, which is in addition to the existing three pillars of government, which is legislature, executive, and judiciary. It's the role of media. In this time is far more important because we have seen our legislature has been made a rubber stamp of the executive, and our judiciary has been made subordinate to the executive. So it's where the role of the media comes more vital. But of course, I understand we work in a very trying circumstances. I'm sure our colleagues in Jaffna will be having a separate event today, maybe feeling the pressure more than any of us. So but I think basically, my point is, now when we work under these circumstances, of course there are challenges, but still they are not insurmountable. So we can go through and we can bypass them. But of course sometimes some of
Ranga, 2 minutes.
Okay, right. And we can surmount them. So basically, my other point is whether when we one of the most important role I said it's about oversight of public oversight by media, and that's why we need the right to information bill. Well, it's really, you can't really, anywhere in electoral democracy can you ever imagine that right to information will be defeated in the parliament. That I can't simply understand. And also, while we discuss basically the role of media and how we help how media help transforming our society, I think it's equally important that the new trends, basically the technology, which is the driver of all the current changes, have brought us new challenges. And especially us, the print media people, are facing real challenge. Many of the leading newspapers are facing financial challenges. So how are we going to deal with that situation? I think that is among other issues I think we should discuss today if there is enough at the time. Thanks.
Thank you, Ranga. Well, he basically tackled the issues related to the media freedom in Sri Lanka, and also constraints placed before journalists when doing their duties. Well, I think all five panelists have already spoken and expressed their views on the topic, and also have sometimes gone beyond that as well. You know, today's topic is new voices in media freedom, helping to transform societies. And when you say new voices, it can be either the youth who have finally got a voice through Facebook, blogs, and well, mobile, and through so many other means. It can also be, new voice can also be citizen journalism, social media. So now the floor is open to everybody. You can ask a question from this distinguished panel. Please make your questions very short, and I also request our panelists to keep the answers also short and sweet. Thank you. Well, who will ask the first question? Journalists representing 3 media rights group, and we have representative from the Editors Guild, and we have foreign news analysts as well. I'll think, Rajpal happens to be an attorney as well. Either the media rights groups can answer this question, because I myself think we have, although we can say that we have not reached an optimum level, but the campaign has been going on to force or to press the government to implement right to information legislation. Yeah, Lucky, you go ahead.
The question was asked as to why the media has not taken up the LLRC report of this. As I said in my talk earlier, the media is not a single entity. It is comprised of many companies, and there are many cameras here, many microphones. And the lead tomorrow, even on this panel, will have different headlines. So you can't expect the media as a kind of information service to highlight things which one of us might consider important. The media has its own audience priorities, and I think some newspapers, some channels are referring to the LLRC, others are not. And that if we talk to the people who are the audiences of the mass media, they also have their different priorities. And some people are not interested in the LLRC. I go to the village, for example, and most people are not interested in the LLRC. They are more interested in the cost of living and how to carry out farming in the face of a global market. So there are different viewpoints here. So it's hard for me to answer and say the media should do this or the media should do that. It's not quite like that. Media rights organizations, right, and professional bodies, they are interested. The LLRC does make recommendations to do with the rights of freedom of expression and mass media, and most of those observations and recommendations are merely repeating what media rights groups and professional bodies have been saying for decades. The right to information, there has been a draft law in South Asia itself, a draft law developed by SAFMA as a model for South Asia. We submitted this to this government many years ago, as we have submitted to all the other 8 SAARC member country governments. And we are happy to see that there is some acknowledgement at the LLRC, and the media rights groups will take this up. Thank you.
ඇත්තටම LLRC එකේ නිර්දේශ කියන්නේ ලංකාවේ ප්‍රජාතන්ත්‍රවාදයේ තහවුරු වෙන්න ඒ තුල ගොඩක් කාරණා ඇතුළත් වෙලා තියෙනවා. නමුත් පහුගිය කාලේ ඇත්තටම ජනමාධ්‍ය වලින් ඒ ගැන ප්‍රමාණවත් වාර්තා වුණාද කියන ප්‍රශ්නේ තියෙනවා. මොකද මිනිස්සු ඒ ගැන කිසිම දැනුවත් භාවයක් නැහැ. නමුත් අපි මාධ්‍ය සංවිධාන සහ සිවිල් සොසයිටි එක විදිහට ගොඩක් අවස්ථාවලදී මේ ගැන කතා කරා, සාකච්ඡා කරා. නමුත් ඒවා වුණත් මාධ්‍ය ගොඩක් පළ වෙනවා දකින්න ලැබුණේ නැහැ. මම හිතනවා ඒකට එක හේතුවක් මාධ්‍ය අද තියෙන ඒකාධිකාරීත්වය. විශේෂයෙන්ම ගොඩක් මාධ්‍ය මේ ප්‍රධානීන් ගොඩක් ඒ කියන්නේ ගොඩක් මාධ්‍ය ආයතන ආණ්ඩුවේ ඒ කියන්නේ හිතවතුන්ට සහ මේ ඇමතිවරුන්ට ගේ හිතවත් කටියට ලබා දෙන තත්ත්වයක් තමයි තියෙන. දැන් අපිට ගුවන් විදුලි නාලිකාව වුණත් රූපවාහිනී නාලිකාව වලින් වුණත් සමහර ඒවා දකිද්දි තේරෙනවා කොහොමද ඒවා කටයුතු කරන්න කියලා. ඉතින් ඒ මාධ්‍ය තුල තියෙන එක සමහර මාධ්‍ය ආයතන ප්‍රධානීන් පවා ආණ්ඩුවට සම්බන්ධ වෙලා කටයුතු කරන ස්වරූපයක් තියෙනවා. ඒ තුල මත සංවාරණයකුත් තියෙනවා ආණ්ඩුවට එරෙහිව කටයුතු කරද්දී. ඉතින් මම හිතන්නේ LLRC රිපෝට් එක ගැනත් ආණ්ඩුවේ මතවාදය ගොඩක් මිනිස්සු අතරට යන්නත් LLRC වාර්තාව ගැන මිනිස්සු දැනුවත් නොවෙන්නත් ඒක තමයි එක හේතුව.
Sure. Well, Rajpal.
Yeah, to give a very brief response to that, with all due respect to gentlemen, I mean, what do you want us to do? I mean, can the editors give a mandate, the editors to say that the LLRC recommendation should be implemented? I don't think so. Because it's not really technically correct for you to say that LLRC itself is per se a government report, because it was commissioned by the government, but it doesn't necessarily mean that the government has to accept verbatim all of the recommendations of the LLRC in total. So, having said that, there are varying opinions about the LLRC within the government as well, and within opposition and in civil society. So what we can do is to create the discourse, which I think to a great extent we have done. The newspapers create the discourse. And I'm sure that channel over there would be extremely gratified when I say, in a real report, you decide.
Okay. Second question.
I'm Abul Kalam. This is regarding the first two speakers spoken about the Arab Spring, and then the second speaker spoken about the socio-economic impact due to the Arab Spring and in the post-Arab Spring situations in Egypt or Tunisia or in other countries. It's like I would like to raise the question linking the Arab Spring and Sri Lankan situation, in the post-war situation right now. What is the role of media on the socio-economic impact in Sri Lanka? Because day to day the cost of living is rising, and in the whole situation, I don't need to explain the current situation. What is the role of the media in managing or like influencing the policy decision making on this, socio-economic situation, current situation? And because day to day we raise, in some government medias we hear that there is a rise in the economic growth rate, but in other medias we raise that there is a wheat flour raise of the price the next day, and then we hear that the calculation on the economic growth rate is not based on these things,